Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we've got another brand new Mattel Jurassic World Rebirth release. This time we have one of the 4 new basic figures. Now I do want to give a shout out and a thank you to my good friend Eric, who actually helped me to acquire this. He goes by the name BattleHornet_127 on Instagram. He was kind enough to grab one of these and help me add it to my collection because I don't know when these will ever show up here in my area. We usually don't get the basic figures too often unless I'm lucky enough to see them at Ross, but that doesn't happen very often. So he had these at his HEB store in Texas, and again was super kind and grabbed some for me, one of each of the different basics. But you can see we have a little window area here where we see the T-Rex itself. You also of course have the Jurassic World Rebirth logo right there, and then if we come to the side, another shot there of the figure, and then on the back, which I guess we can stand it up to take a look at, we have all of the figures that are out currently for Rebirth when it comes to these basic figures, and most are, well actually I don't even think I should say most, I'd say half are reused figures, as we have the Allosaurus, Suchomimus, Atrociraptor, and Pyroraptor, but the new ones are the Quetzalcoatlus, Mosasaurus, Spinosaurus, and this one, the T-Rex. So let's pop this box open and check it out. So here is our new basic version of the T-Rex, and I must say I'm kind of surprised. Not because it's an incredible figure, but because they've definitely decreased the size of these 12-inch basic figures. Now obviously it is called the 12-inch basic line, and I normally would do my sizes much later, my measurements much later, but I'm very intrigued to see, yeah, it is about 12 inches. But what's interesting is a lot of the other basic figures usually ended up actually being larger than 12 inches, even though that's what they were called, but they're normally, again, just generally larger figures, whereas this one definitely feels like it's a lot smaller. One thing they have definitely retained from the more recent basic figures is that super thin look, where it looks kind of like the guy from Beetlejuice that kind of slides into the wall that was run over. Definitely looking like this T-Rex was run over at some point in its life. And one of the most appealing aspects to, in my opinion anyway, to the newer Rebirth Tyrannosaurs is the bulkiness to the body, that thick look where it just looks very intimidating. We do not have that going on for the basic version. As we lead up here into the head sculpt, you get a good look at the head sculpt, and I will say, even if it does look almost a little deformed, because like the head just kind of feels like it's squished in a little bit, it does have some very impressive fine detail, which is pretty common for these new Tyrannosaurs from Mattel. You can see the actual skin texture is stellar all over the face of the figure. We can see the nostrils, very vibrant scales, all sorts of variation to the scales. We have a black that moves over the top of the head, and then kind of like a grayish tone for the lower half of the body. We can see the teeth are all sculpted out. The dinosaur does not feature an articulated jaw because the basic figures usually don't, and unfortunately the teeth are unpainted. Now a lot of the time Mattel does give the teeth of their figures a satin shine, but they've definitely chosen not to go that route with this one. The eyes are painted with a yellow, and then you can see a black pupil, but that's probably just a black pupil because that coloration is black right there in the face. As we move back, the black starts to kind of break up, and we can see a striping effect as we move along the top of the dinosaur, but it does end pretty quickly moving into the hip region, which is also very common for the basic figures because they are usually just that, very basic. As we lead along, though, again, the skin texture continues to look phenomenal. We do have the osteoderms following along the back of this one, making this one look, again, more so like the Power Devour T-Rex or the Super Colossal T-Rex, but you can see the bulkiness in the neck and throat and everything, and again, the scale detail looking really good. As we lead down, the skin texture looks absolutely fantastic. Look at how good the scales look on the figure. Very vibrant. Definitely the type of detail that you could soak up a nice dark wash into, or maybe some dry brushing to really bring the detail out. We do have articulation in the arms, which do move forward and back. You can see they are held into the body in a nice natural way, and also the wrists are positioned correctly, which is a huge plus for the figure. The actual detail moving down, again, looks really good, really crisp, just like it has everywhere else on the figure. You can see the claws are sculpted out unpainted, but they do, again, have a little bit of a shine to them. Not really a great shine though. Moving back here into the leg, we can see the musculature of the thigh. The leg is super flat. Look at how flat the leg looks. It looks really quite crazy. We do have articulation forward and back for the leg. Fairly limited. That's as far as it goes forward, but it does come back pretty far, not really that great. But as you move down, the leg does look awkward because it is so smushed in. I don't know why Mattel started to kind of flatten out their basic figures, because they used to have more body mass to them. It was never incredible, but they definitely had more body mass than these newer ones do. But as you move down, we've got the calf muscle, the kneecap, and everything. We also have a swivel for the ankle articulation leading down into the foot sculpt. The foot sculpt itself does look really good. You've got some scoots down the toes, and the claws look very nice. Again, unpainted, but they do have a satin shine, and we can see the dew claws over there on the opposing side. As we move up, we've got a few more skin wrinkles and folds and everything here as you lead back from the thigh, and again, almost like a little bit of an armored look to the top of the T-Rex as you lead out into the tail. Another thing that these basic figures used to have, which I really liked, was really long tails. They had much better, more proportionate tail length than a lot of the other Mattel figures had. However, with the newer ones, they've definitely begun shortening the tails. Weird that Mattel very much so knows that we complain about the tail length of the figures often, so on one of the few lines that they usually give us decent lengths for the tails, they've decided to shorten them and again go the opposite as far as fixing things. But you can see the scale detail though does look really nice, really crisp as you lead out there to the length of the tail. We've got the osteoderms and everything following out through the rest of the tail as well. The figure for the most part looks the same from this side, again compared to the other side, except for the fact that the leg is trailing over here and the tail kind of curves slightly away from us. But other than that, it looks pretty close to the same. Very clearly we can see the proportions are a bit off in general for the figure, like the tail length is too short, the head's huge on the figure, the legs don't look right or anything, but it is a basic figure, so I don't expect a masterpiece. It does stand pretty nicely at least. We did get a length, but I didn't get a height, so for the height you're looking at just shy of 5 inches or around, I'd say about 12.5 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect Day Human Being next to our basic figure here, our basic Tyrannosaurus. And you can see the T-Rex is kind of similar in size to the Papo T-Rex, but still, again, one of the, actually I would say the smallest Rebirth T-Rex so far, if you follow through with the Mattel. So here is a size comparison with the lab lockdown version of the Rebirth Tyrannosaurus, and you can very clearly see that the basic version is a whole lot smaller. And here is a comparison with a standard Mattel Velociraptor, which you can see the T-Rex isn't all that much larger than. If we bring in a Wild Roar figure, here we have the Irritator, you can see that the basic figures are roughly in a similar size range now to the Wild Roar figures from Mattel as well. And even though this one is repainted by a buddy of mine, this is the basic version of the Spinosaurus that was released a ways back next to the T-Rex. And I guess you can see they are pretty similar in size. So maybe the decrease in size kind of happened a while ago, and I was just expecting the T-Rex to be a bit larger, but I still feel like the T-Rex is a little bit smaller than the Spino. So yeah, you can see from the side, again, the size is definitely a little bit off, so the T-Rex definitely feels like it is a little bit smaller than the basic figures normally are. So this brand new Mattel Jurassic World Rebirth 12-inch basic Tyrannosaurus Rex is pretty cool, but definitely a little ugly at the same time. It's by far the ugliest of the new Rebirth Tyrannosaurs that I have taken a look at so far, but that's to be expected when it comes to the basic figures in a way. Normally the basics do look a bit weird and a little bit off, but this one feels like they've gone overboard as far as that goes, because for the most part the basics were usually, in my opinion, kind of almost like model-like versions of the Mattel dinosaurs with slightly wonky proportions, but this one does still feature all of the impressive fine detail we've seen on most of the more recent Mattel Tyrannosaurs, but everything seems so strange as far as the proportions go. The tail is super short, the legs look beyond awkward, the head is huge, the arms even look a little bit off. Like, as a whole, the proportions on this one are so much worse than the basic figures usually are. It also has incredibly basic paintwork, but that's again to be expected when it comes to the basic line. The articulation is okay, it works decent, not really incredible or great or anything at all, but like it's okay for what it is. Also quite basic, hence the name, but the sculpt really is again impressive when it comes to the fine detail. Even if this one is kind of goofy looking, once you get a nice closer look, the fine detail shines so nicely on this figure like they have with all of the new Rebirth Tyrannosaurs. So if you are interested in picking this one up, unfortunately I don't know exactly where to direct you to outside of HEB stores if you happen to have them in your area. Hopefully these start to show up at Kohl's or something at some point in the future, because I would love to be able to get them a little bit easier, maybe for some repaint projects, but no idea for sure where to tell you to head for this one. But if you are able to get it, it's kind of worth picking up. So again, grab it if you want it when you find it, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.